Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And I'm Steven.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we're all trapped in every photograph ever in people's attics for people to discover 20 years from now, randomly. Because this week we watched From Out of the Rain.
Written by P.J. Hammond.
Directed by Jonathan Fox Bassett.
And aired on March 12th, 2008.
In true Trust Your Doctor fashion, in true quarantine Trust Your Doctor fashion, we have another surprise guest on the show.
Yeah, and I asked to be on this one in the most roundabout way.
Wait, that was you who asked?
Oh shoot, I thought it was your friend. Oh shoot. So who did I give my number to?
You gave your social security number away? That's wild.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to contact Social Security Services.
Social Security, open up.
Oh no.
I actually have given away my social security number to solicitors before. Not gonna lie, like I'm 100% serious. I've done that. Not joking, not kidding.
When I was making a bank account recently for purposes,
for money laundering,
I had to give them my social security number like over the phone, and I was like, I wonder if like people in the apartment below me can just hear me saying my social security number.
Yeah, I have people who live above me, so yeah.
I have people below and above me, and let me just tell you, the people above me, I don't know if they have a dog or a kid who runs around like all night, but like it was like 2 nights ago or last night, it was like midnight, and we just hear people running around in the apartment upstairs, and we're like, what is going on? Like, what? The people below us like to have parties where they play Mario Party. So there you go. Now you know all my neighbors.
Well, PJ Hammond feels like an old neighbor who we're being reacquainted with. As soon as, let's just describe this right up front. So, obviously, Dylan and I watched through the entirety of Sapphire and Steel on our Classic Sci-Fi podcast, Inevitable Classic Sci-Fi podcast. Check that out. We've watched PJ Hammond sort of in action before, and I think both of us missed that he wrote this episode. So like halfway through, when they go like, oh my god, they're trapping people in film, and we're like, oh okay, this is a PJ Hammond episode.
Yeah, I mean, it does like directly feel like a sequel to Assignment 5, I believe that was.
I was 4, yeah, where they Sapphire and Steel get trapped in every photograph, and there's that being that's trapped in every photograph.
That they then trap in every photograph by like pointing the photos at each other. Like the resolution is really dumb. I seem to remember.
Yeah, 4 was the last one I saw, but I honestly can't remember what happened.
Devastating.
Did you say devastating?
Yeah, devastating.
I think you should try out Assignment 5, Steven, because it's pretty different from the ones that came before it, because it was written by someone else, not PJ Hammond.
It was Anthony Skeen, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't remember. So yeah.
Pretty sure it was Anthony Skeen. But you know what? We have the entire Some Human Knowledge in our pocket / on my second monitor. So how about I just pull up the IMDb page? It was the one that was co-written. Don Houghton and Anthony Reid. I think I mixed up Anthony Reid and Anthony Skeen because I think Skeen was the prisoner.
Yeah, Anthony Skeen. Yeah.
Yeah, Assignment 5 was Don Houghton and Anthony Reid. They co-wrote that one together.
Yeah, it was a good one. That was the only one that had like, a concrete resolution or like a non... And man, just revisiting PJ Hammond's works, honestly, with this, like, he's a damn good writer.
Yeah, I loved this episode.
You walk out of a PJ Hammond story like not knowing what the heck you just watched, and like just being more confused than ever before. But you're like, man, that was a good experience.
Yeah, no, I really liked this episode. Like, I think it's my favorite of series 2. It was to use a phrase Keon hates, smart, so to speak, which just really means that I liked the themes it was playing with. It was tight, it was well edited, it felt very quick. I don't know, just hit all the right beats for me.
Yeah, like this episode was so smart that I would hesitate if it challenged me to a quiz.
Just flashing its what is it? Dylan always brings the Mensa.
Yeah,
Flashing his Mensa card all over the place.
Hey, what up? My name's From Out of the Rain. What's yours?
Check out Lemons Loom Like Rain, my fantasy horror comedy novel, which is on Amazon. Check that out.
Yeah, check out Steven's book. Steven is the first and so far only published author we've had on the show. So that's gotta mean something, right?
Yeah, every published author out there longs to be on Trust Your Doctor.
Yeah, like Stephen King and Dean Koontz keep emailing you guys requesting to be on. You're like, oh, we're not so sure.
Yeah, James Patterson's just blowing up my inbox.
Or R.L. Stein, author of the Goosebumps books.
Yeah, Lemony Snicket trying to get into my DMs.
Hey, look, if Neil Gaiman wanted to be on Trust Your Doctor, I would say yes. I would say yes if Neil Gaiman emailed me and was like, hey, I want to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. I wouldn't veto that. Mainly because Neil Gaiman is an actual Doctor Who writer, so...
I also like the implication that you have veto power.
What if Mary Shelley asks to be on?
I would say yes, just because I would want to know who would show up.
It turns out she is time traveling with the Doctor.
Well, we all know Doctor Who is based on recordings of Trust Your Doctor that historians found. Something like that.
Yeah, in attics and cellars.
What if PJ Hammond wrote Trust Your Doctor? What would Trust Your Doctor...
Like, what would happen to us, you mean?
Well, just... Just, you know, what would the show be like if PJ Hammond was the creative force behind Trust Your Doctor, you know?
I posted this on Twitter, actually, but, and I can't believe I didn't think of this while we were watching The Prisoner, but, like, yeah, I really wish PJ Hammond wrote an episode of The Prisoner. That would have been really cool.
Damn, that would have been crazy.
Would have been whack, yo.
Well, it would have been really interesting to see him work within the confines of... Well, I put confines of The Prisoner.
Yeah, you have to find those cons.
Look, there are a lot of cons with The Prisoner, all right? Looking back on it.
Yeah, that show is weird.
That's why it would be perfect.
Yeah, for PJ Hammond's expertise. And honestly, the conceit of The Prisoner is a very PJ Hammond-esque thing because it's, you know, it's sort of a very simple premise. And when PJ Hammond talked about his writing, he would always explain it in a way that's like, yeah, I mean, you walk away from his explanation being like, yeah, makes sense. He explained Sapphire and Steel as like, yeah, they're two agents of time and they investigate things where time goes wrong. And, you know, it's kind of like a cop investigation show, but there's a bit of the supernatural in there. And you watch Sapphire and Steel and you're like, what the hell is this? Like,
yeah, you watch it and it's nothing like that at all.
Again, you guys need to watch Twin Peaks at some point.
Yeah, I do feel like we could extend Inevitable to cover that, even if it's not like sci-fi in the purest sense.
Perhaps Steven can answer this, but I've always heard that Twin Peaks is at least like speculative fiction in some form. Steven, yes or no?
I mean, speculative fiction is when there are things you can't really explain, right?
Well, it's just an umbrella term that includes like both fantasy and science fiction.
Depending on the like iteration of the show, there are sci-fi elements to different extents. I would say that there's more like the original show feels sitcom-y at points, laced with tragedy and moments of horror, and then the prequel movie is just like straight up psychological horror, and the return, which is when the show came back on Showtime, is like all of that mixed together, and it's even more surrealist fiction. Like, yeah, it's bizarre. There's like nothing like the return on television as far as I can tell.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, like Keon said, I'm sure we can extend Inevitable to include that at some point. Probably shouldn't plan Inevitable out too far in advance, because then we're going to end up like I had to do with the Godfather episode of Triple Play.
Check out our Triple Play, our movie trilogy podcast.
For anybody who hasn't listened to that episode, there's a moment where we explain that Triple Play has come back after a hiatus, where we covered certain shows on Inevitable, and the shows we had planned to cover when we recorded that episode of Triple Play were not the shows we ended up covering. So there's, I got a text-to-speech AI to just say "The Prisoner" when I said something else.
Yeah, it was funny when like on that episode you guys noticed how like The Godfather and Star Wars had like this 16-year gap, but also Doctor Who had that between like the end of the classic show and the beginning of New Who. Like, if you just like don't take the 8th Doctor movie into account, it's like a 16-year gap.
Oh god. This is like that, what is it, like rock stars committing suicide at like 28 or something like that? Like, there's something like
27, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's 27, the 27 Club, I think it is.
Yeah, god, the 16-year hiatus club for shows.
Or like JFK, C.S. Lewis, and Aldous Huxley all dying on the same day.
Thomas Jefferson and John Adams dying on the same day.
Oh, did they?
They did, and there's hang on, let me just check something. I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, so they died on the same day, and Jefferson died before John Adams did, but because the pace of information was slower, John Adams's final words were it was something like "Thank God Jefferson still lives" or something.
Oh wow. Maybe this should be a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, there's some. I don't know how you do it, but you could definitely weave in some like really complicated time travel stuff with that.
Yeah, Doctor Who is no stranger to exploring strange periods in Earth history. So,
yeah, like the end of the universe, like that was a strange period.
Yeah, I remember that quite well.
Yeah, that was pretty whack.
So, shall we get into the episode? Yeah, speaking of whack, shall we get into the episode at hand?
We shall.
Yes.
So, if I remember correctly, the cold open for this episode is the ringmaster of some traveling company inviting some people to view their show, and then they vanish. Not the people don't vanish, but the show vanishes.
Yeah, it begins with that carnival flashback thing, and I feel right out the gate, this episode has really good costuming and set designs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. The guy who plays the I forget what he was called. It was the
Ghost Maker.
Yeah, the Ghost Maker has also. I guess we'll get into this later, but he has a very creepy appearance, which bolsters that. And I realized looking up his roles that he's pretty scary people, and and typecast as like monsters and stuff.
Well, funny you should say that, Keon, because it's time for the Amazon X-Ray Fun Fact of the Week. So Julian Bleach, who plays the Ghostmaker, that's his name, he would go on to play Davros.
Yes.
But also, he is one of like 3 actors to appear in substantial roles in all 3 of the Russell T. era Doctor Who shows. So that would be Torchwood, Doctor Who, and Sarah Jane Adventures. There you go. There's your fun fact for the week. I don't know who he plays in Sarah Jane Adventures, but he's one of a very few number of people who appeared in all 3.
Yeah, cool. Good for him. Yeah.
The Amazon X-Ray fun facts this week were really lame. I have one more at the end of the episode, and it's like really underwhelming. So,
very excited to hear what it is.
Yeah, thanks for really hyping us up for this.
The one at the end is it's not okay. It's not super exciting, but it is. It's something you would see on like r/mildly interesting. I'll say
Something
that much.
Something mildly interesting about this intro, though, was that kind of like some of the Sapphire and Steel episodes did, there's sort of a weird meta aspect. I didn't spend too much time like trying to think about what this means or anything, but like as you're going through this carnival, you're sort of in this first-person view almost, or at times, and it looks like the people are kind of just looking at you, making weird faces at you, which was kind of I don't know, I thought it was cool. And the whole episode is about going into and out of, films, movies, and stuff. So I feel like there's something there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really care too much about this episode, so didn't spend too much time thinking about it.
You are the...
I mean, the whole, the whole cinema aspect of it kind of got me, a little bit nostalgic, because,
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of older movies with my roommate because I'm in the physical sciences is my degree, but my roommate is in the arts and humanities, so he knows a lot about that kind of stuff, and he's been dropping a lot of knowledge bombs on me.
Well, I mean, just like the theater experience is what I mean.
Well, so yes, but it's interesting in this episode that I was reminded that the era of cinema that the Electro is evoking is completely different to the one that we have nowadays. Guess we should explain that the Torchwood team, and by the Torchwood team I mean the B team, which is Ianto, Gwen, and Owen, are going out for a night on the town to an old cinema, Electro, which has been turned into a film history museum almost, and they're going to show some old films. There was an Amazon thing here that was like a goof, but it was really long, and so I didn't think it was interesting. But basically, it was when they show the film that the kid is splicing together, it's 35 millimeter film, but then later when you see the film reel, it's 16 millimeter, and none of this makes any sense. And I'm like, who notices this kind of nonsense?
Yeah, so it had been 7 years since the last time I saw this episode. So when they were walking up to the cinema and Ianto says that it's not just the cinema, it's Electro, I thought to myself, wait, does he mean Electro, the music genre, what they play in Shaun of the Dead?
I thought you were going to say Electro, the Spider-Man villain Electro.
Well, I mean, I thought that too, but for some reason, that one scene from Shaun of the Dead was what came to mind first, when the roommate is pissed off and he's like, "Stop playing your hip hop," and then Nick Frost is like, "It's not hip hop, it's Electro."
I mean, okay, I guess I'm gonna get into this, but not really. I was hanging out on campus one time, and I overheard. Christ, I can't believe I'm about to say this, because to me it was so dumb. But I overheard two people in an argument over like the difference between like EDM and electronic music.
Yeah, freaking great.
And
I mean, I don't know what the difference would be since I'm not as immersed in those genres.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know
myself.
either, but just off the top of my head, it would be that electronic music, like EDM is a subsect, right? Because it's electronic dance music, so like it's music you dance to, versus electronic doesn't necessarily have to be like dance music, you know?
Yeah, that's probably the case. But you know what?
I looked up, actually, weirdly enough, I looked up like list of music genres on Wikipedia the other day, and it was just this massive, incomprehensibly long list, like subgenres and different branches, and like the family tree that was like, if it was a real family tree, would be so wildly like both widespread but also incestuous that like, I don't know, it's just a massive thing to wrap your mind around.
Are you really that shocked?
No, not at all.
Speaking of music, I have in my notes muffled organ music. So I guess that's what the subtitles said at one point.
Oh, nice. A true connoisseur, I see, watching with subtitles on.
Yes.
Wow, all right.
I mean,
okay.
Dubs? Who watches the dubs? Am I right?
Yeah, I don't watch no talkies. I'm only here for the silent films.
There were definitely...
The silent films.
There were definitely silent film purists, right? Like back in the day. Like back in the...
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I remember... Oh my god, I don't remember what context this was in, but it was like some famous... I can't wish I remembered, but like some executive like back in the 20s was pitched some idea for a movie, and they're like, that's stupid, like nobody wants to hear movie actors talk. Like, oh, I wish it was some famous thing too. I wish I remember the context for it.
Yeah, I know there's this movie from like several years ago called I think it's called The Artist, and it's a silent film, and it's kind of in that era where talkies are coming into the picture. So I don't know, it's just reminded of
the
that.
Picture. Yeah, okay. Never mind. That's
I did not intend that.
That's such, like, just from your description of it, that sounds like a very pretentious, that like it's silent movie in the 20-teens. It's called The Artist. Like
it's a really good flick. Actually.
Okay. Cool.
I heard good things about it, but I never saw it myself.
Wow, #fake fan.
Yeah, you're right. I'm a fake fan of this movie I never saw.
But in this episode, there's also this quote that I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Jack or someone else, but it said something about how like all those acts performing for us are part of history, trapped in film forever, or something like that. And like that just sounded really deep to me. Like, I don't know, I just really liked that line.
Yeah, it's a good PJ Hammond line. He always throws in some good ones like that, I think.
Also, Hammond organ, that's a thing.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I particularly like the line where the guy running the museum tells everyone to watch closely because they might see one of their like dead ancestors in the film, and that reminded me of something that I always think of when I'm watching these old movies. Like eventually, you'll get to the point where you'll watch a movie and literally no one who was involved in making that movie is alive anymore, and that's like kind of just weird to think about personally. Like, you're consuming this. I mean, I guess it's like just reading a book by a dead author, but so many more people go into making a movie that it's kind of sometimes overwhelming to imagine that like everyone involved in making the movie is dead now, and you're just consuming this artifact basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you read Sherlock Holmes stories and you think to yourself, oh, Sherlock Holmes is probably dead by now.
Didn't a lot of people think Sherlock Holmes was like
Wow.
real at the time? Or maybe not. I don't know.
That maybe. Like, at the very least, people took Sherlock Holmes so seriously that they were, like, butthurt when Arthur Conan Doyle wanted to kill him off.
And did kill him off, right? Or, well, yeah, I guess that was kind of like retconned, I guess.
Well, yeah, it was retconned like a decade later.
When he ran out of money,
Well,
like the Wachowskis making The Matrix 4 after like 5 different $1 billion flops or whatever. $1 million, not billion.
The thing about him retconning Sherlock Holmes was that he clearly, before he even retconned it, regretted doing it because he wrote Hound of the Baskervilles between the Reichenbach Falls, which was
You mean the final problem?
the final problem, and don't remember what his first story back was, but he wrote Hound of the Baskervilles between them, and then was just like, yeah, this takes place before he died. But I've read like that some people have found, I guess, convincing evidence to them that it actually takes place after he dies and not before. But, you know, whatever.
Well, I mean, so I remember when I went through all the stories, like, back in 12th grade or whatever, I, like, jotted down, like, the dates or hints of dates and years that would be provided, and, like, it does seem like Hounds of the Baskerville was intended to take place before the final problem. But also, in some of the stories, like, Doyle is inconsistent with the chronology. So it's like, he was, like, if you're really paying attention to the dates, you'll notice, like, some errors or things that don't really fit. So it's like he was already kind of retconning stuff. And I think there's even a story that takes place 1892, which would have been between the final problem and the empty house. And I've seen, like, one of those Sherlock Holmes timeline theorists say that, oh, maybe Watson was, like, imagining, or Holmes was, like, projecting himself from a far away.
Wait, what? Which I think that's supernatural now.
Yes, astral projection.
They all just take place in that machine from Assassin's Creed that just brings you back to various periods of history. Yet they only chose one. Yeah, they only chose like a 10-year like time span.
The Assassin's Creed games that I started playing when quarantine started and then stopped because I realized they were all the same.
Yeah, I played most of the first one several years ago, but I got really close to the end and got to this mission that was just too hard for me to beat, so I just gave up.
I finished the first one. I got the platinum on the second one, and I was damn close to getting the platinum on Brotherhood as well. So, you know, that's how you know I had no life at the start of quarantine.
Doctor Who Assassin's Creed crossover 1.
Oh, God. I'm sure there's a fan fiction somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
AO3. AO.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Ayo.
3.
Question mark. Dun, 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 dun.
It's probably one of those AO3 fanfics that's just like, it has the info and the summary, and it's just like, date published, whatever date, and then it's like, explicit tag or whatever, and it's like, series included, and it's just this like, essay length, like, list of series. Like, just everything the writer liked, they just jammed into one story.
Look, if you... Look, go big or go home. That's all I'm going to say. That's what I've learned, you know, participating in National Novel Writing Month. Go big or go home.
God.
If your story's not getting more complex and difficult to follow by the page, is it even worth it?
I kind of agree with that, to be perfectly honest.
Well, you know who else agreed with it? PJ Hammond, clearly.
Well, so things are going wrong. So first they actually see Jack. I think it was Ianto, who's like, hey, wait a minute, that's Jack. They see him in the footage. But they aren't able to confirm it because things start going wrong. The film reel keeps repeating, I believe, and it's not even the right film reel to begin with. So this is operated by a family too, which I liked that sort of dynamic there. The kid sort of operating the reel, and the parents are the owners, obviously, of the electro. So the dad's getting mad. He's yelling at the kid to fix things, but things just won't be fixed.
Yeah, so there's a scene where he's cutting together the film to show that evening, and he sees the footage of the carnival people, and it's clearly not supposed to be there, and he's like, what the hell? So he thinks he's fixed it, and he's going to be late to the showing, and his dad is getting all angsty about it, and then he shows up and he puts the reel in, and then it starts playing the wrong stuff because it starts playing the carnival stuff, and they're like, what the hell, man? Like, what are you doing? And so that's why the film reel is playing the wrong stuff, because stuff's going wrong.
Right. And, just before we move on from this scene, I just have to point this out. Leave it to Owen to talk during, and Gwen too. Let's not fail to implicate her. It's Owen and Gwen, and they're talking during the movie. And I know it's not technically a movie, it's sort of just this historic, thing. But, really? They probably are the people who, now, if Torchwood was made in smartphone era, they'd just be, on their phones in the movie, just...
I don't understand people who go to the movie theater and then are on their phone during the movie. Are you not at the movie to watch the movie? What? Why did you shell out the $15 damn to come and watch the movie if you're not even going to watch the movie?
That's for the cred, just to say you've watched it.
What?
As an avid phone during movie watching user... No, I'm just kidding.
Wait.
No.
Keon just outing himself as
No. Well, anyway, video did indeed kill the radio star, and
God damn it!
Oh yeah, I love the buggles.
just as movies killed these traveling shows, as Jack explains, when Torchwood is called in full to investigate what's going on here.
Which is really interesting because a lot of early, not a lot of early movies, but the big movies would be roadshow movies where they would show in one city and then they would move to the next city, kind of like a traveling stage show. So it's interesting that everything kind of came full circle there, almost.
Yeah, true.
Probably the reason I was thinking about this, because this is something I didn't know until very recently, is that part of the reason why the movies probably killed the traveling shows is because you could literally drop into movies at any time. Nowadays we think of going to the movie as like, okay, the movie's showing at 12 o'clock, so we have to be there at 12:15 to skip all the ads. But when movies first started showing in cinemas, they would literally just run the reel of the movie continuously the whole day. So you would buy a ticket, you just go in and you would join the movie wherever it was, and then you just sit there till the movie ended and then just watch the beginning of the movie and then, leave whenever you wanted, basically. So it was just this continuous drop in, drop out kind of experience. And, traveling shows don't really have that because they have an actual show that they're trying to do.
Yeah, and that was partially... Well, there's many reasons for this. This is partially why movies were considered such cheap entertainment back in the day. Well, that's true for every new form of, art or whatever. It's like during its infancy, it's just like, WTF is this garbage? And then 80 years later, it's like, oh my God, movies. Movies are the thing, But that's, there's...
And if you'd like a fun fact... The movie that really ended the continuous playing of movies was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, because I'm not going to spoil the movie because you should go into it unspoiled, but I will say that Hitchcock basically went to the theaters, was like, look, you cannot play this continuously because the core conceit of the movie hinges on you watching it in order and not watching the second half before the first half. And so Hitchcock had the kind of pull at that time to make that a thing. And so, I mean, he didn't single-handedly do it, but that movie was one of the ones that led to that movie experience that we know about now.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this, but that was also sort of the era where movies were really differentiating themselves from plays. Because if you watch like pretty early movies, they're very similar to plays, I would say.
This is bizarre because this is a conversation I was actually having with my roommate because, again, he knows a lot more about film than I do. And I turned to him and I was like, when was it that movies started just being written for movies? Because you watch any movie pre-60s, pre-50s even, and it's like every movie is either based on a book, based on a stage show, or based on a musical. It's very rare before then that you really have a movie that's written to be a movie. And so my roommate went and did research and like put together this whole thing about when like he believes that it actually switched, and it was quite an interesting discussion and question to ponder that you don't really think about a lot.
I mean, even now it's like it's not like an overwhelming majority or even a majority, but it's like very many movies. And very many mainstream ones too are like, they weren't originally a movie. Although obviously there are many too are that now are whatever that sentence got completely mangled by yours truly, but I think people know what I mean.
As long as people understand the intention of what you're saying, like you can use whatever.
Exactly. A rose by any other name, people. A rose by any other name.
I'm going to start calling my pen Frindle.
What is that from? That seems to ring a bell.
Frindle.
Oh yeah, the book Frindle.
The book Frindle. The book Frindle.
We need more books based on movies.
What?
It's too often the other way around. Yes.
Yeah, what Steven said. You mean novelizations?
Yes. It's too often the other way around. All right? Enough of this nonsense.
I mean, Doctor Who has had novelizations.
That's all well and good, but, we need more.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we really?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you 100% sure we do?
Yep.
Bring back serials. Bring back black and white. Like, the footage in this episode made me nostalgic for that. Only the black and white serials are canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as they added color, Doctor Who got worse.
What if, like, during those black and white seasons was when the Black Guardian and White Guardian were like unified, and then after season 6 they had like a schism, and that's why the rest of Doctor Who after that is in color.
Yeah, they used to be like one being, and then they got separated into two.
Yes,
like
the Grey Guardian.
That's like this fantasy movie that I really like, but I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, it's the Enuma Elish, right? Where Abzu and Tiamat get separated into two beings.
I've never even heard of it.
What in the hell?
It's an ancient text that like predates the Bible, and it's basically just Genesis, but without God, like without the Hebrew God. It's really interesting actually because it's a polytheistic Genesis.
Huh.
And that thing at the beginning of Genesis where like God splits the salt water from the fresh water is like two gods who were used to be one splitting into two. I don't know. It's really weird.
Why do you know about this obscure piece of history?
I don't know.
Okay. Good enough for me.
Just internet, I guess.
Yeah, good enough for me.
Anyway, we're not very far in the episode at all. So they go back to Torchwood HQ and Jack is like, so this is the work of the Night Travelers, people. I used to be part of this, traveling show. I was the man who couldn't die, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, but he wasn't part of the Night Travelers. So
Right.
the special thing about the Night Travelers was that they only perform at night. So Jack joined a different traveling troupe in order to try and find the Night Travelers, and Ianta's like, who asked you to find them? And Jack, in true PJ Hammond fashion, just says, "It's not important. Don't worry about it."
Yeah. But what they do, I guess, is like God, he explains it, but it's like it's again, it's like a PJ Hammond explanation where you're like, yes, I see. This all makes sense, and then 5 minutes later, you're like, wait, what? That didn't make sense at all, actually. So I guess the Night Travelers were just sort of a sinister, I don't know, show that disappeared people. To use disappeared as like that verb, right?
Yeah, they only performed at night, and people disappeared when they saw the Night Travelers perform. And well, people in power correctly thought that this was suspicious.
Acting kind of sus.
Nightcrawler acting kind of sus. Nightcrawler imposter. So basically, their plan then, they don't have one because they don't know what's going on still. But then they get a call to a dead body, and the person is clearly still alive in some aspect, but is also not. Is kind of in a state between life and death. Their mouth looks very dehydrated, a la the monsters from Waters of Mars that never got a name.
True, yeah.
Yeah, and this would have been before that episode, right?
Yeah.
Freaking Doctor Who ripping off Torchwood. How dare they?
Yeah, like Doctor Who clearly copied that Captain Jack character from the most recent season from like Torchwood.
You're right.
And they even got
right.
John Barrowman to play him. Seriously? Come on. Creatively bankrupt. This show 100% is.
SMH.
Should have gotten The Rock to play Captain Jack in Series 12.
Can you imagine? No, the Rock has to be the Doctor. Nothing else.
You still... Oh,
I mean, why not both?
Yeah, right, fine. Why not both? Sure. All right.
The more the merrier.
Anyway, again, before we get too far away from this scene, I just want to mention that while Jack is explaining the sort of troupe that he was a part of back in the day, one of the people was the tattooed man, which is like, why is he in a traveling show? Like, why, right? Why is that a thing to go and see? Because the other people are like, yeah, the man who couldn't die, or like other, crazy, interesting ones. And it's just like the tattooed man.
The man who's clearly just lifting a styrofoam weight.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess people would pay to see anything back in the day. Standards have risen.
What else are they going to spend their money on? Food?
Yeah. Frickin', Great Depression, right? Like, you only have certain options, so, entertainment, you're gonna die whatever of starvation or anyway, might as well just use your last bit of money to entertain yourself. I don't know, this is going a really dark place.
Yeah, your argument is kind of, you're gonna die anyway, so spend your money on the...
Exactly, which is why we should all go outside now during this quarantine, during this time of pandemic, infect each other, and just go out in a blaze of glory.
Wow.
I don't actually believe that, for the record.
Could have fooled me. Could have fooled me.
Darn, I was gonna follow that up with like, I actually believe something even more ridiculous, but I couldn't think of anything more ridiculous.
So
darn it.
The Night Watchers have the most ridiculous performers. They've got the strong man, and then they've got the mermaid woman, question mark. I don't even know what her talent is because we don't even see her get in the water tank she's in front of a single time.
she's kind of like Storm, right, from the X-Men.
Yeah, I remember, like, as I was watching this episode with friends online, I think someone in the episode said, like, something about, like, the closest thing to a living mermaid, and one of my friends was like, as opposed to a dead mermaid?
Yes.
Or as opposed to a dead one, is what I think he said.
That would be pretty whack if they came out of the film, but, like, time had its effects on them all at once, and they just aged rapidly and died.
That reminds me of something, but I can't remember what it is. Whack.
I'll put it
Quack.
in the show notes. Just kidding.
When you think about it, the 12th Doctor was the Ghost Maker because of the return of Dr. Mysterio.
Oh god, don't even remind me of that train wreck of an episode.
Wasn't, that bad.
I like you better in your Harry Potter cosplay.
Oof. Oof.
That's in reference to one of the final lines of that episode, just in case people forgot.
I know.
Where the main female lead goes, I like you better in your superhero outfit or whatever, and she takes him, or she puts on his glasses or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this really cheesy comic book sequel to that episode.
Hell yeah. You can always count on the comics to flesh out the things you didn't know you wanted. Alright, so they find this person who's dead but not really, and then they find another one and they're at the hospital and they're like, what the hell is going on? Like, what the hell is going on? And you know what? I'm sitting there as the audience member and I'm like, you know what? You're right. What the hell is going on? But we actually see the night travelers, or the Ghost Maker. He's got a little vial and he's basically like the ambassadors of death because he just grabs the person by the mouth and then they die. And their last breath goes into his little vial, Pretty much they can do whatever they want. Subject to the one fatal weakness that they have, but,
Sure, I thought, my interpretation of it was that was part of the power of the vial, was like, it kills you and takes your last breath out. I didn't necessarily think that was his power, but maybe it was. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know, actually.
PJ Hammond?
PJ.
So I think while they're at the hospital, they catch wind of, one of the nurses or doctors or whatever says that there was a patient that she had when she worked at a psychiatric ward who had mentioned
right.
What did she mention? I didn't even put it in my notes. It was a specific keyword that clued them into her association with the Night Travelers. So they go and visit her, and she's very like lucid, and she'd obviously just been put into this psychiatric ward because nobody believed about her experience with the Night Travelers, which is pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean that's what they would do in that day, though. It's kind of dark because of how accurate to history it is.
Yeah, I mean, true, I guess. Yeah, if you were like weird at all back in the day, it was just like, all right, well, guess you're going into the psych ward.
Or you're a witch.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, you're a witch.
Like, depending on the era and the setting, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she tells him about this sort of run-in that she had with the Night Travelers as a child, how she got taken in, and witnessed their carnival and whatever.
So she kind of explains her experience, and then At some point, I think Ianto. At some point before this, also Ianto has recognized that the Ghost Maker and the Mermaid Woman are not in the footage anymore. Which, like, okay, this was funny because Ianto's like, look, it's subtle. You might not see it at first, and then it's just a shot of a blank, like it's literally a shot of almost an empty frame, and he's like, see, he's not there, and everyone's like, you're right, he's not there, and I'm like, that's not subtle. What? What?
Maybe it's like because it would have gone by so fast or something. I don't know. Maybe that's why it was subtle.
Who knows?
Maybe it's just Ianto being weird. Ianto has started to get more of a personality in the last couple of episodes, and the more we learn about him, the more just like odd he is. Like, and we neglected to mention too at the beginning that it was his idea to go to the Electro. He was like the one who was super into it, and I guess he just dragged Gwen and Owen along because he has no friends or something.
I think it's because he used to go to the Electro as a kid when it was still a regularly operating theater, so he wanted to go support their reopening.
Yeah,
and relive his childhood.
Yeah, it seemed like he had nostalgia for it, and like it even has like the train thing, and that was pretty cool. Probably brought back some train related memories. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the Ghost Maker and Pearl, the mermaid woman, are they're going around town. They're accumulating even more victims, and they're sort of operating out of this, I don't know, like abandoned pool.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what was going on here, but.
It's a classic PJ Hammond setting, though, right? You're in this like abandoned motel thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she's playing with the water, and again, another suitably PJ Hammond thing is that we never find out what if she actually has any powers or like what's going on with her. She just really likes the water.
Yeah, that too might have been a holdover type thing. Not that this was started by Sapphire and Steel, but like back in Sapphire and Steel, the budgets were so low that they had to just, I don't know, say things were supernatural. You know what I mean? Like, and that kind of is part of this episode too, where it's like, yeah, she's this. I mean, we don't even really freaking know what she is, the mermaid woman, but like. That's only really ever told to us. And in a way that makes it more creepy, I think, and may work almost more effectively.
Yeah, I guess, like, if you leave certain things unexplained, it's just one more thing you don't fully understand. And one of the things that, like, people fear is things that they cannot understand. So, yeah, it kind of works, I guess.
Yeah, I think Hammond definitely has that talent, like as a writer, just kind of throwing you into this really weird thing that you never really fully, like, have a grasp of.
Yeah, just pushing you into the deep end of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
But the reason why, at least to me, the reason why he's such a fascinating writer, at least to me, is that at least when you hear him talk or listen to interviews with him, he doesn't seem like he. I don't want to say he doesn't seem like he's aware that he's doing that, but it doesn't seem like he intends to do that. He just kind of happens to do it. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, part of what makes it so effective for him is that he somehow balances that mystery by just giving you just enough that you accept it. You accept it, basically. Like, it would be really easy to be mysterious without giving you enough information for you to care. And I think what makes PJ Hammond a good writer, in my opinion, whether he's doing it intentionally or not, is that he can ride that line and give you just enough to keep you interested. And this is something we talked about when we talked about Sapphire and Steel on Inevitable,
Yeah,
obviously.
the stakes are usually concrete. I think that's what we kind of came to a conclusion on back then, is like, you understand what's at stake, you just don't understand anything surrounding that.
Yeah, I think you guys would like Twin Peaks. I'll just say that.
Well, I think at this point they come up with the plan to, or no, they don't actually, because the kid needs to go back to his place first and be scared out of his wits. So the kid, the son of the Electro owners, goes back to his little, like, I don't even know what you would call it, but it's just like above their house, I think. He has like his little clubhouse or whatever where he splices together the movies.
His dark room, basically, is what it is.
I want to talk about this set later because I think there's some pretty interesting things surrounding it, but we can do that at the end. He has a bathtub up there, and he finds Pearl, and he thinks she's dead, but she moves, and he gets really scared.
Surprise, she's not.
Surprise, mother effer.
Some fries.
Oh my god.
Sunrise. Dexter, who, when?
So he calls Torchwood. I guess Jack and Ianto left their number.
The first Torchwood call in weeks that's actually been like legit.
Yeah, the first Torchwood call that's not just the cops going, well, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to work this week. Let's bump it to Torchwood.
Yeah. I think so. Jack and I believe Owen show up. And this is when they have the bright idea of re-trapping them in the film by filming the film. Or something.
Yeah, so their theory is that because they're coming out of the film, they had to have been trapped in the film originally. So if they can trap him / her / them, if they can trap them in the film again, they can then basically destroy them by then overexposing the film and wiping their image off the film.
Right, yeah, that's what it was.
And so they grab this, I don't know, handheld 16mm camera from the kid. And they're like, does this work? And he's like, yeah, works. And he's like, all right, we're taking it.
And they sort of go into this, I don't know, chase sequence.
Yeah, they're trying to find the Ghost Maker and the Mermaid Girl.
Yeah, and they eventually do. They start, tailing them or whatever. And they almost get them. And then they do get them.
Well, they get to the theater right when they're... because
right. I forgot about
the
that.
reason why the Ghost Maker and the Mermaid Girl were at his house was because they wanted the film reel that had the rest of the
Night Travelers.
The Night Travelers on.
Yeah, because we skipped the scene earlier where they're like, hey, how about we let all our friends out? And the Nightmaker's like, yeah, it's a pretty good idea. Or the other way around. I forget who suggests it and who says it's a good idea.
Yeah.
A little anticlimactic, to be honest, how this all played out, right? They find them. The kid's parents obviously are part of this. Not obviously, but they're part of this. So the kid definitely has a stake here. Kind of also raising the stakes, I guess, for the audience. But I don't know, it played out pretty anticlimactically. They just kind of go into a chase sequence and solve the problem. Well, partially, because the people are still dead and they only managed to save one of the souls, which is one of the kids in the hospital.
But I thought that this was good, though. I mean, there were stakes because the parents who were the owners of the Electro were being forced to watch the film because they can only come back to life if there's an audience watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then they capture them in the film camera, and then they as soon as Jax captured the ghost maker on the film, he immediately rips the film out of the camera so it gets exposed to the sun and wipes them out, not before the ghost maker chucks the vial of lost breath over the over the balcony.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like floating like against the sky or whatever.
And just releasing breath into the air.
Yeah, just really releasing some CO2 there, you know.
Breathtaking shot.
So they save the kid, but then it ends on a note that's really interesting that I want to talk about more in a little bit when I want to talk about something I really liked about this episode. But Jack basically says, you know, if they were caught on one film reel, there were probably dozens more with them on them that they could come back from. And we'll never even know until people pull them out of their attic and play them, and it all starts again. Very, very assignment 4, which was, well, you know, once he breaks out of the photo in 40 years, we'll have to trap him again.
But like, yeah, that thing where he says something about being worried about long lost pieces of films in cellars, like brings to mind like the long lost Doctor Who episodes that might be in cellars.
Yeah, just a good argument for never uncovering any of the rest of the lost episodes, just in case there's something supernatural in them that ends up killing people.
Yeah, you're right.
No, but it's fine now because Supernatural ended.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Oh, we're safe.
The Supernatural episode that is totally worth watching is Scooby Natural, where they go into the Scooby-Doo cartoon universe.
Is this real? Is this...
Yes, this is real. I'm not making this up. But, like, I've only seen... So, like, my brother used to watch Supernatural, and so I'd, like, casually catch scenes here and there. And then, like, 5 years ago, I tried giving it a shot, watched the first 2 episodes, and then stopped watching. But then recently... like, I've known about the Scooby Natural episode for a little while, but I, like, recently, like, finally got around to watching it, and it's pretty solid.
God. Zoinks.
Doctor Who, where are you? I really dislike the fan name Super Wholock, because when I think Super, I think Superman. Is like, it doesn't make me think of Supernatural. So I much rather prefer Sherlockter Hoopernatural.
Oh my god, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah, I made that up a while back.
It's just like how I prefer to be called a hooligan instead of a Hoovian.
Yeah, Hoovian is too, I don't know what you would call it. It's too, like...
Pretentious, you know, is the word,
no, obviously. Yeah, pretentious, yeah, but it's too, like, I don't know, it's too goody two-shoes, you know? It's too, like, in line with, I don't know, what's expected from society. It's not punk enough, not rebel enough. Hooligan, on the other hand, denotes a true Doctor Who fan who is against the establishment.
Anti-establishment Doctor Who fans.
Wow. Exact. There we go. Anti-establishment Turian. That's a mouthful. That's the true fandom name for Doctor Who fans of the highest caliber.
Oof. Willie Hartworm, Patty Troutform, Jay Purdy, Tommy Bakesale, Petey Davies, Colin Baked Cake, Silver McRib, P. McGriddle, Johnny B. Herding, Topher Egg Listing, Dave Tenners, M. Smithy, Pete Cappuccino, Joe D. Whitty.
I could go for a nice Pete Cappuccino right now. Just kidding. I don't drink coffee.
A McRib.
McRib.
Cup of Joe Marty.
What does that mean? It's like you look at this and you tell me there's a god, and it's like it's just a picture of a McRib. Like, you look at this and you tell me there's a god.
Hey, the McRib is a. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they have.
I mean, it's a real thing, the McRib.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were gonna say it wasn't.
No. I was gonna say, like, I don't know if they have it in the UK, which, since a lot of our listeners are in the UK, perhaps we should explain the McRib. There isn't much to explain. It's just it's a barbecue, in quotes, sandwich from McDonald's that's like limited time only, but they keep bringing it back because it's popular. And yeah, it's not the most appetizing thing in the world. It's like, there's more I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just, yeah, that's it. Never mind.
All right.
The
Sounds good to me.
Again, of the stunned silence. Yeah, Dylan, as a vegetarian, has never eaten one.
No, I haven't. You're right.
You know what it is, right? Like,
yes, I know what a McRib is.
Anyway, yeah, the episode ends with some kid uncovering another reel at a yard sale, or a reel that's presumably this has the Night Travelers on it. We don't know for sure, right? Like, this could be anything.
Yeah, the stakes are real.
The stakes are real in theory, right? Like, the way this is set up is like, the reason why this scene is so sinister is because of what we just watched. Just in isolation, this scene means nothing, right? And really, there's no proof that the Night Travelers are on this reel to begin with.
Right.
Take that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we get that weird look from Jack where he like looks back as if something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. And that's that. That's the final, I think, supernatural thing that PJ Hammond ever wrote. Because he only has, I think, a few more episodes that he wrote after this. He's still alive. He's just not writing anymore.
Maybe he would have vastly improved Supernatural if he had written that show.
Yeah. Well, he wrote for Midsummer Murders after this. I don't know if the episodes he wrote after this for Midsummer Murders are supernatural in any way or not.
Yeah, I don't really know what Midsummer Murders is all about. I've just heard of it. I don't know if it's like...
It's literally just a murder show set in a small, sleepy English village where fans of the show have come in the recent years to realize that the population of this town must be gigantic for the amount of murder that goes on.
Is it super...
I've heard of the film Midsummer, but that's probably something different, right?
Yeah, it's different. Midsummer Murders is literally just like a sleepy village, and it's just a detective, and like I think the Reverend is helping the detective like solve murders in this like sleepy English village.
Is it like fully realistic, or is there some like sci-fi fantasy element?
I've only watched one episode, and I wouldn't say it was like completely realistic, but I don't think I would go so far as to say that there's like supernatural elements.
Yeah, it's not like aliens committing the murders or anything, right? Like,
yeah, no.
Huh. Well, it's a shame, I guess, that PJ Hammond is no longer writing, but he is I think he's in his 80s now, so. Or even his 90s.
You can write till you're dead. You can sleep when you're dead.
Yeah, look, if Milton could write after going blind, then what's everyone else's excuse?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing I always think about. This is a massive tangent, I guess, but like when reading Paradise Lost, the thing I always thought about is like Milton went blind before he wrote it, and he dictated it to his daughter. She was the one who actually like wrote it, so she could have changed whatever she wanted. Like, we don't know how much she was true to what he was dictating to her. Maybe she's
saying maybe she's the genius behind this episode.
Yeah, well, episode, if you want to call like a national epic an episode, yeah, sure.
I mean, it could be a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, why not? that's the thing too, is like the English canon of literature is like people use fanfic as like as an insult, but it's like, you know, Shakespeare was fan fiction. Paradise Lost is Bible fan fiction. Right?
Yeah, like there is legitimately good fan fiction out there, but I guess like in general, like some people like think about the fan fiction that's really bad, wish fulfillment and just like not well written.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've heard the term fan lit by someone I know, but I don't think that's a widely used term, but it's an interesting sounding one. Like, it doesn't sound as much like an insult because it's like fan literature, but I guess shortened to fan lit, so it doesn't sound like pretentious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I read fan fiction. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of it's good. Then again, as I keep mentioning, my standards are like rock bottom of the Marianas Trench level. So,
yeah, they're like so far at the bottom that if you were to put fish fingers and stargazing pie there, like the fish would be looking like all the way up.
Yeah, you have to really crane your neck for that stargazing experience there. None of that at an angle baked into the pie stuff. These are straight 90-degree stargazing pie fish.
How we always bring up stargazing pie, you know?
Yes.
Somehow we always find our way back
It's making me hungry here.
I mean, Rock Bottom was a place in SpongeBob, and there were fish there, so...
True enough. Yeah, I always get hungry watching that show, you know, just imagining Mr. Krabs served up on, you know, nice and hot.
Great. Just really wanted that image in my mind.
Mr. Krabs is just able to get a Krabby Patty and turn it into a whole pizza.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
God, I feel so vicariously insulted, just your tone of voice saying that.
Jeez.
Anyway.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about just the idea that things are captured in film for two reasons. One, because this episode has this weird kind of anti-digital media, not anti-digital media, but like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of anti like progress in digital media tilt to it, where it kind of seems like a lot of the story only happens because these images are stored on physical media, that being film, but also like the only way they resolve the story is through film. And even at the end when Jack's saying like there might be more copies of this film out there, you know, unlike if it's just sitting on someone's hard drive, for the film someone's actually got to go through the attic and dig it out and then play it. And he kind of makes it seem like, you know, we'll be okay because the fact that it's film is so cumbersome that we're going to be okay about it. Which I thought that was interesting. It was kind of reminded me of like how Assignment 4 seemed to be very also like anti-progress, because it seemed like very anti-photography, because it was like, well, this would never happen with painting because like paintings take months to complete and there's no like, you don't capture a person's soul in a photograph like you do with a painting.
Take that, Van Gogh. I don't know.
Well, I also wanted to talk about this briefly because it's interesting, because we as the audience are also watching the film that is presented to us, and the way that this episode kind of plays out there was to me this air that was like, at any moment, uh, they could just jump out of the screen and be real in our world too. Like the night travelers are real in the episode, but they came out of a film and were real in real life. But could they come out of our film too? We don't know. They don't do a lot with that, but I kind of wish they had.
Yeah, maybe it kind of speaks to like the idea or whatever, like this the sometimes over identification that people have with characters, people, and we even touched on this back when we were I guess it was near the end of series 1 or beginning of series 2 where we were talking about how people, or it might have even been beginning of series 1, where like people were like disappointed with Torchwood because it wasn't as much about Jack as they thought it would be, right? Like in a sense, I guess people really over-identified with Jack, and in a way, he became this sort of larger-than-life character to transcend his original appearance, and really, I guess, worm his way into people's hearts in a way that maybe wasn't like the best of ways. If you're getting mad at a show for not fulfilling that expectation.
See, I didn't think Jack was that interesting when I first saw him on Doctor Who, and then in Torchwood, it was like him and all these other characters. It's like, okay, this is a bit more interesting. Like, I could see Jack working like in this sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, the snippets we get of him on Doctor Who are definitely interesting, but yeah, I think looking back, I know that like without Torchwood, I would be as invested in Jack,
Yeah, it's the comparison that people have made, like with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, where like lots of people, myself included, think that Angel is more interesting on his own show than he is when he's on Buffy's show.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think that, without Torchwood, that I would really care about Jack as much. Like, before Torchwood, he was just a one-off Doctor Who character, and I was content to just let him go, Live and let live. Nailed it.
Let him go.
Oh my god. Nice.
Wow.
But apparently, people thought otherwise. They really wanted this sort of show about Jack because they liked him a lot on Doctor Who, and yeah, I guess that wasn't the like healthiest of things to do, right? And I think this episode, in a way, kind of speaks to that. Obviously, nothing supernatural is going to jump out of the screen, as far as I know, but like, yeah, it's, if you really over-identify with characters or, really over-identify with a story, that can often lead to, like, not the best mental states, I mean, everyone's either been that person or encountered that person who, like, you tell them you don't like a story that they like or something that they like, and they just feel so personally insulted.
Well, I mean, if they were true Captain Jack fans, they would shell out $30 to get a volume of Big Finish's The Lives of Captain Jack.
True.
Yeah,
Keon, are you saying you didn't like this episode? God. Gonna have to cancel the podcast because of that. I don't think I can be on a podcast with you ever again, Keon. I mean,
I didn't reveal this until now, but I'm wearing my PJ Hammond shirt that has a picture of his face on it. No.
I thought you were gonna say like just PJs, and like that would have also been kind of weird to say.
Yeah, I'm wearing. I'm in my jammies. I have some ham.
I mean, given the time we're recording this, that wouldn't have been outside the realm of possibility. I'll just say that.
I mean, I just sleep in.
More on that after this commercial break.
Well, there are a couple things I wanted to touch on at the end here as well. I really like how this episode brings sort of the horror aspect to the carnival, right? Like, really touching on that etymological root of like, meat carnivorousness and just horrifying things, right? Because apparently, I guess, carnivals were originally like, you go to watch, I guess, animals mall people or something. I don't really know too much about this, but that's where it comes from, right? Like, you would watch carnivorous animals either fight or, like, people get thrown in the ring with lions and stuff like that. So kind of, I don't know, Coliseum-esque. But yeah, really just touching on that horror vibe here. Not in the same way, but like, yeah, just kind of extending it to you know, whatever this episode was. But then...
a masterpiece.
Yeah. There is a moment here that I think is a really... You know, I just really love the scene where the kid is going into his little dark room thing, and like, I don't know, it's just the most PJ Hammond moment ever, and it's just perfect, where it's like he's walking through this empty industrial like space, and you're along for that ride with him, and like you see this crack in the door, and like in that moment, it only lasts a moment too, because he goes right in. And there's nothing really creepy about it after that, but like, you see that crack in the door, and in that moment, it's just like the most frightening thing imaginable. And I don't know, I just really like that. It's such a PJ Hammond thing. I mean, I know he was just a writer and not, you know, whatever, cinematographer, director of photography, or anything like that, or any of the other roles they might have had incorporated in this. But like, yeah, such a classic thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm glad you brought it up, actually, because I wanted to talk about how like great the cinematography was in this episode, to me anyway. Like, it was really effective in making everything feel very scary and worrying, but also just like the way that everything was lit was very terrifying and effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, I liked the use of reds with like I mean, it's kind of a given with like movie theaters and whatnot, but like the red curtains and the red seats, I felt like really suited what this episode was, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of this almost like, it's almost anachronistic, which like, yeah, it should be, because they're basically repackaging and selling this like, earlier era, but it's like, I don't know, this pseudo-Victorian like, I don't know, thing that this episode had going on. Felt very cool, I think.
Yeah. Agreed.
Sort of the, I don't know, the extravagance of it, like the red velvet, and just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's what you meant, Steven, if I just kind of took that somewhere completely different.
No, yeah, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Are we all in agreement to also talk about the 7 deadly sins of Gwen?
I mean, I forgot to pay attention to like what sins she might commit.
Hey, welcome to Trust Your Doctor, where we always forget to pay attention. No, that's not true. It's just like mostly true. It's not always true.
The great thing is that people listening don't even know if we say that as a joke, like a running joke anymore, if it's actually the truth.
I mean, they have to listen from the beginning to find out. Just like how you need to watch Doctor Who from the beginning to understand everything that's going on.
Yeah, really took a page. Verity Lambert and Waris Hussein took a page out of Hitchcock's book and created... You need to watch... You need to watch from an unearthly child. You can't dive in anywhere.
If Classic Who had never been canceled and just kept going till today, would we even like call any part of Doctor Who Classic Who and part of it New Who, or like, and if so, which years and Doctors would be classic?
No, I doubt we would. Imagine if it was still serials, like it never got canceled and it was still serial.
Well, that would be annoying.
Or hell, imagine if like Doctor Who wasn't episodic. Like if it was just an ongoing story that was just in production since 1963 and that was just getting more convoluted by the minute.
Honestly, not even that far outside the realm of possibility.
It's not even that far from what it actually is, now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the overarching storyline that New Who kind of started relying on when the show came back in 2005, I kind of feel like it might have partially been influenced by like the Eighth Doctor's stories that come out in Big Finish beforehand, because like they were kind of episodic, but also had like an overarching thing with like the companion and whatnot. So it kind of feels like a weird bridge between the eras and kind of makes sense, like the transition.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us, Dylan, regale us with the sins that Gwen committed, because I didn't have any for her, actually. I mean, she wasn't a big part of this episode, so.
No, she wasn't really in this episode much, so I didn't actually have anything either.
No.
Maybe her lack of participation counts as sloth.
There's another one of these technicality slots that we seem to hand out every so often.
Yeah. What's happened to Gwen? I mean, she's really fallen from greatness, you know. Well,
I thought you were gonna say fallen from grace, and I was gonna be like, don't think she ever. Based on how many sins we've been handing out, I don't think there was a fall.
Yeah, she's really risen in that case. Like,
well, I mean, grace fell in the woman who fell to Earth.
Wow. Too soon. Still too soon.
3 years, 2 years, and it's too soon.
I mean, I could have gone with that, or just done like the Eighth Doctor yell, "Grace!"
Or like the Seventh Doctor and yell, "Ace!"
Well, Doctor Who not very creative with the names.
Would be like Turlo. Nissa!
Tegan and Tigana. Maybe the Doctor's name should have been Owen.
Wow.
Because time travel.
Wow. I want Chris Chibnall to just end his run by just having like Jodie Whittaker as Doctor, or whoever's the Doctor when he decides to leave, just turn to the camera, break the fourth wall, and go, you know what? My name is Steven. and then he just doesn't contribute to the show again, and then like the next showrunner has to try to write himself out of that hole.
Like fans are gonna assume that that's like a Stephen Moffat shout out.
See, I was doing it more to reference Feast of Stephen when the first Doctor turns to the camera and goes, "And a Merry Christmas to all of you at home as well."
Yes. Because there's no way it would be a reference to Stephen Taylor.
I mean, that's what the Feast of Stephen was named for, if I remember correctly. Questionably, because, like, Stephen wasn't really in that episode, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you know, just want to throw this out there again, that Peter Purvis, who played Stephen, says that the best episode, where he says that if you don't like the massacre, then you don't really get Doctor Who. And, you know, whenever I remember that, I then remember that, like, the Doctor doesn't show up on that episode, and Stephen Taylor is basically the main character for 4 episodes, and I just wonder if those two statements are related.
Yeah.
Oh man, I skipped my second Amazon X-Ray fun fact.
Well, it's not too late.
My second Amazon X-Ray fun fact was that the nurse at the end was played by Carolyn Sheen, who's the cousin of Martin Sheen.
Wow, okay.
I warned you at the top of the episode that it wasn't that exciting. Like, any disappointment you're feeling is solely your own.
I know, but even then, like, I thought it would be at least mildly exciting, but, you know, it's like really hit rock bottom with that.
Wow. I you know what? I'm not even offended by that because I warned you. Like, the only person you're insulting with that is yourself, for assuming that either I was lying or, like, building it up in your own head.
You've joined my standards at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
We can go deeper.
The mantle. The moho. I can't believe I remember that from freaking 10th grade science or whatever. I don't even know what it is, but there's some like layer of the earth called the moho or something. MOJO.
Who says trust your doctor isn't educational?
Alright, ignore Ianto, done.
Bam.
Actually, we did the opposite of that because we talked about how he had a personality now, so oops.
Dang it, how dare you, Ianto? How dare you be a thinking, breathing
This
human
is true.
being?
Just blaming them for this is like, immediately following you saying that I really hit rock bottom, blaming me for your disappointment, now blaming Ianto for something we did.
Look, if there's anything I've learned in life is that the best course of action is to blame all the wrong people and benefit from it.
Great.
No, we're supposed to go with the trend and blame Chris Chibi.
Right.
I'm waiting for Chris Chibi to catch on as people's name for Chris Chibnall, you know. I'm just waiting.
It's too close to chippy, you know, the British term for chip whatever it's called, fish and chips shop.
Yeah, you know, so people like fish and chips. People like Chris Chibi.
Yeah, and people like fish and stargazing pie.
I don't know if people like that. I'm convinced that's just a conspiracy.
Chris Chibnall and Custard.
I'm going to take us away from this conversation and talk about how affected Jack should be this week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, I don't know if he's really going to be affected. He kind of at the end seemed like he was bordering on the you know, this might keep me up at night 3 weeks from now level of being affected, but otherwise just kind of seems like he thinks we saved the day, and that's good enough.
I would say actually that he was pretty affected, but maybe it's not displayed to us on screen as such, because, you know, at the end when he saves the one child, there's something along the lines of, in that scene, like, but too bad we couldn't save all of them, or like, oh man, we only saved one out of, you know, however many, and Jack says something like, and if we can even say, like, and it's better than zero, or something like that. And I felt that was, you know, he was really affected by this entire thing. But that he was, like, basically overjoyed that they were even able to save the kid at the end, even if it wasn't the best outcome. So, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, like, it might be, like, a good victory that he'll, like, keep in mind, even if they don't, like, mention it in other episodes. Or he could just be like, well, just another day in the life of Torchwood, and just, like, move on smiling.
I felt that it did kind of tie back to the last PJ Hammond episode, in which Jack does end up sacrificing the girl and giving her to the fairies. So in this one, it's kind of the opposite. He saves, you know, people die, but he saves the one child, and yeah.
Wow, wildly inconsistent characterization. Gosh dang it, Torchwood.
Character development? What is that?
Anyway.
It's like the writers don't even watch Torchwood.
Well, did you know, before writing for Torchwood, Russell T had never watched Torchwood?
Oh my gosh, Russell T, worst showrunner ever.
Yeah, people go, Verity Lambert this, Verity Lambert that. Did you know she never even watched Doctor Who before creating it?
Yeah, William Hartnell had never even seen Joe Martin's run as the Doctor. Like, What?
Fake fans.
Apparently Hartnell didn't even know about the pre-Hartnell doctors. That just goes to show you how much he cared.
Yeah, everyone knows that before you dive into a role in a franchise, you need to watch, read, listen to, and play everything that came out of that franchise beforehand.
Exactly. That's why Pip and Jane Baker are the saviors we need and deserve.
Great. Because they wrote the best Doctor Who stories, obviously.
To be perfectly honest here, they did write one of the most underrated Doctor Who moments ever, which was one in Terror of the Vervoids, when one of the Vervoids spills a drink on someone and then just sarcastically is like, oops, sorry. When it was totally on purpose.
Okay, you know what? I actually have a soft spot for Terror of the Vervoids. But I somehow think that moment was more in the acting than in Pip and Jane's writing.
True enough. You know who also has some really weird acting problems, though, is Owen, because he just acts like a jerk a lot of the time, prompting us to have created a segment where we call out his nonsense, but he barely did anything this week. I don't really have a good one for him this week.
That segue was longer than the segment.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything that warrants a WTF, I can recall.
Yeah, mine was just him talking during the movie, which is like, yeah.
That's a pretty good one. I mean, that's up there with the most WTF things he's ever done, you know. Number 1, opening the riff. Number 2, talking during movies. And then number 3 is like killing someone, but like...
Yeah, as we all know, talking during movies is a worse offense than murder and should be treated as such.
You know, it's a good thing society is not based on trust your doctor rules, because...
More like thrust your doctor out the window.
What? So defenestrate then.
Yes. I only know that word because of Hannibal. Who says Hannibal isn't an educational show?
Literally no one has said that it isn't. Don't think anyone said that it is, though.
I say it's very educational.
Well, there you go, then. Someone had to say it.
And if no one says that's wrong, then it's right.
That's how that works. I mean, you know what? That's actually kind of how science works, you know. You prove something, and then it's just right until 20 years later some upstart little shit PhD student is like, well, actually, I proved it was wrong. And then everyone's like, you know what? You were right. It is wrong. We just believed it was right because no one said it was wrong. I'm not referencing anything in particular with this, by the way.
If a movie is playing but nobody is watching it, then did the movie really happen?
If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, then does anyone even give a shit?
No. That one's easy.
If one car leaves from a station traveling... Okay, never mind. Or train. I don't know why a car would be leaving from a station.
I mean, it could be leaving from a gas station.
True enough.
Could be leaving the train station after leaving their lover at the train. They're like, okay, I'm going to go home now and eat some pita chips.
Or they could leave the train station after realizing that the ticket they had was for the day before. So now they can't visit their faraway loved ones and they have to just drive back home.
Oh, no. This sounds like something Tosh's Tech Corner could fix, but you know what? Tosh didn't. Tosh's Tech Corner this week was her going, for some reason I can hear the ocean in the middle of the city through the computer. That's it. That's all I had. That's all I got.
Yeah, PJ Hammond is not a very high-tech writer.
As evidenced by Sapphire and Steel, where it was just, this box duplicates things. Well, how does it duplicates things?
Yeah, it's a black box.
Literally.
Yeah, PJ Hammond wasn't in tune with the segments that were going to be on this.
I was just thinking about Assignment 6 and the, like, making the fake car and moving it into the garage. And I was just thinking that that's the kind of logic I would employ in my dreams. Like, you know what's great? I'll make a fake car and then move it into the garage and hide behind it.
No, well, even better was the like thing they introduced in the last episode of Sapphire. I even remember talking about this on Sapphire and Steel. Is like they're introducing new plot elements 5 minutes before the end of the show, which Steven doesn't know, I guess. But like in the last 5 minutes of that show, they introduce a miniature. It's a little box that when you open it sends you back to the Jurassic period.
No, it was better than that. It'll send you anywhere back in time. They just had it set to the Jurassic period, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Because they used the box to kidnap Sapphire and Steel.
Right. Oh, right, yeah. It would send you anywhere. And they sent them to that, like, diner in... Oh, I don't want to spoil it. Never mind.
They also, in the final, like, 10 minutes, introduced the, like... the fact that Sapphire and Steel are like delinquents in terms of the elementals, like that had not been brought up at all until the very last episode where Silver was like, by the way, like no one else really likes you guys because you go off book all the time.
There's also John Parker Hammond from Jurassic Park, right? It's like JP. Or at least that's what this wiki says. Actually, it lists two full names for him. One of them is Alfred, the other is Parker. It's like from different sources, apparently.
They probably changed it for the movie because they basically changed his entire character for the movie already anyway. Why not change his name?
Yeah, but Jurassic Park, the title, like as an acronym, would also be JP. So.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Dun, 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 dun.
It's a Sapphire and Steel theme song.
Sapphire and Steel theme and Jurassic Park theme play at the same time.
Yeah, it's like X-Files and Twilight Zone at the same time.
Just like probably a tad more cacophonous.
Well, on that bombshell, I'm pretty much out of things to talk about from Out of the Rain.
Other than the actors, right?
I guess.
If we have to.
I
only looked up Julian Bleach, so you're basically going to carry this segment this time.
No, I only looked up. Camila Power and Julian Bleach, but other than that, just Camila Power, who played Pearl.
Yeah, so Julian Bleach, we already mentioned, plays the Ghostmaker. He also played Davros later. He was in the 2012 Les Mis. He was in Avengers: Age of Ultron. He was in The Brothers Grimm. He was in Sarah Jane Adventures, which we already mentioned, and then a bunch of other stuff I didn't really recognize, and a TV movie version of Frankenstein,
in which he played.
Wait, what year was the TV movie?
2007.
Oh, okay, so it's not the one I'm thinking of.
He was also, Wikipedia also has his stage credits, and he has been in a lot of stage shows. Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, Oliver, The Tempest. The Importance of Being Earnest as Lane.
Real Shakespearean guy.
Oh, he was also in Antony and Cleopatra. So yeah, Shakespearean. He played Puck. Wow. That was not the role I would have predicted he would play in that.
Huh?
It's got quite the portfolio then.
Well, who doesn't have quite the portfolio is Camila Power playing Pearl. She's been in a considerable number of things, but, not that much that was big, I think, or not. At least stuff I didn't recognize. I just wrote down most of her big roles, which were roles that looked big. She's been in The Silver Chair, Moonacre, Emmerdale, Underworld, not the Doctor Who story, just something else called Underworld. The Grand. She was in something called Slap, Love, Lies, and Lipstick. That's one thing. That's the title. Waterloo Road, and then like a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, nothing big, it looks like.
Well, you said The Silver Chair. Is that Chronicles of Narnia?
Oh, it might have been. I don't know.
Yeah, because Tom Baker actually played Puddleglum in the BBC TV adaptation of The Silver Chair.
Oh, huh. Yeah, I have no idea. It might have been then. Yeah, yeah. I never watched that version. I just watched the like one that they failed to turn into a big franchise, like in the mid to late 2000s.
Hey man, those movies were pretty good. They could have been better, but they were pretty good.
Christian propaganda. It's like that meme. Mom, can we have the Bible? No, we have the Bible at home. The Bible at home. Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah. It is like, yeah, if I remember correctly, it was just sort of written when J.R.R. Tolkien and what is his name? What's his face? C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, just sat down and like, hey, like let's get people like into Christianity. And J.R.R. Tolkien wrote like a fascinating exploration of like themes related to religion and Christianity, whereas C.S. Lewis just wrote like Lion Bible.
Lion Bible.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely parallels you can draw within like Lord of the Rings, but they aren't as on the nose as Chronicles of Narnia, I guess. I do think the Silmarillion is a bit more on the nose from what I recall, but anyway.
Never read the Silmarillion, and I'm glad for it.
I think it's a really good read, but it's also hard for people to like get into it. Like it took me a few tries to get into it, but once I did, I was like really glad that I did, because I did enjoy the lore, but I don't know if everyone else is gonna enjoy it.
I'll never read it. I just know that for a fact. I can't get into like any high fantasy, let alone Tolkien. So,
well, thanks for being honest. And on that bombshell, Stephen, would you like to plug where we can find all of your stuff, including your best-selling novel?
Well, that's a very generous adjective, but you can find my fantasy horror comedy novel, Lemons Loom Like Rain. It's on Amazon. You can find more info about it at stevenschinder.com. It's about college students dealing with like werewolves, a vampire, and all sorts of freaky stuff. It's also been on some podcasts. Again, there's Delayed Replay, which basically talking about the movies that like came out this year, if you catch what I'm saying. Yeah, I've had Dylan and Kiana on that show before. Really good improv stuff. It's currently on a break. Like it recently had its like season 1 finale-ish type thing, but I'm hoping to have like a holiday special type of thing out like in about a month. And then season 2 will come out sometime in 2021. I'm still trying to decide like how early in the year to like start releasing those episodes, but yeah, I also need to like record them first. But yeah, yeah, and I'm also on Star Trek Culture, where me and Liana Ahmed review the latest new Star Trek episodes. So we're like halfway through Star Trek Discovery season 3. That comes out on the YouTube channel for Culture Slate. Generally, the episodes come out on Friday, so you can subscribe to that or find the audio version. Both of these podcasts are on channel1138.com and on Apple. You can just like search around for them. And I've also guested on... I've guested on recent episodes of the Intergalactic Peace Coalition. The most recent one was, like, I actually recorded it yesterday. So me and Ben did, like, a live commentary of the first Toy Story movie since we're, like, around the 25th anniversary of it, and it was a lot of fun. So whenever that comes out, I suggest playing the movie while you listen, because I think that'll like enhance the experience probably. And I've also been on Dr. Holocron's YouTube channel. He has this thing called the Beskar Broadcast, and I've been talking with him about like the latest episodes of The Mandalorian. We're supposed to record the next one about chapter 12 like tomorrow night, so that'll be like the third night in a row recording something. Funny enough. If things go according to plan. I mean, you never know, it could be pushed back a day or whatever, depending on what happens. But yeah, I think that's everything. I'll also shout out to University of Sussex Doctor Who Society. They have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/SussexDocSoc. And you can find the link to the Discord there, where like each week they do like screenings of Doctor Who episodes and also like Doctor Who related stuff. Like recently we watched the Torchwood episode that we talked about here, so hence why I'm here. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And yeah, so check all of those out.
Damn, it's a lot more than I'm involved in right now.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like I haven't done like I feel like I've done a lot, but also not. It's a weird feeling.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, now I have to try follow that up. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativvegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Torchwood from Out of the Rain. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on pretty much any podcasting platform at Trust Your Doctor, a Doctor Who podcast. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook, also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And a huge thank you again, Stephen. Always a pleasure to have you on. Always fun.
Yeah, thanks for being on, Stephen. We appreciate it.
Yeah, always a lot of fun chatting with you guys about these things.
Cool. And next time we're going to be watching Adrift. But until then, the end.